So we're here with Conrad Levenson, one of the dealers on our first floor downstairs. Conrad, how did you make it through the shutdown?
We did pretty well. 3 months, but I managed to be productive and spend the time working, collecting more stuff for my booth here, and making more sculptures.
Yeah, Conrad, you are retired, or maybe still an active architect, correct?
I'm not practicing architecture anymore, but I'm a full-time sculptor. I have been for 11 years now.
Where did you work when you were an architect?
I had my own firm for over 20 years, and then for the last 16 years of my 45-year career, I worked for the Phoenix House Foundation.
Oh, very nice. Is that in Queens or Manhattan?
Well, that's all over the country. It's a national nonprofit substance abuse treatment and education agency.
And you were headquartered in Manhattan, though, right?
I was headquartered in Queens, actually.
Oh, Queens. That's right. I thought it was Queens, yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get into sculpting?
Well, I've been doing that almost all of my adult life. My parents had a house at the beach in the Rockaways, and I used to go on the beach in the wintertime and collect all this detritus that got washed up on the beach. Low tide, nature left me a lot of goodies. I filled their garage twice over with stuff, and I began to make assemblage sculptures, mostly out of weathered wood with a little rusty stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did that as a sideline while I was practicing architecture.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I retired from architecture, I decided this is something I love to do, and also I have control over.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to do it full time, and I suddenly became very productive.
Very good.
I had all these ideas and unfinished projects.
You were full of muse.
I was full of muse, indeed.
Mm-hmm. Your father was Sam Levenson,
My
correct?
father was Sam Levenson, the humorist and writer.
Yeah. And where has your architecture? I know your sculptured pieces have appeared in some prominent areas, right?
Oh yeah, I show up and down the East Coast for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I focus on the Hudson Valley, where of course my residence and studio is. And it's interesting this year, because of COVID, there are very, very limited opportunities to be able to show my work. But I'm sure the people who listen to this little talk will be happy to hear that this year there are 5 locations in which my work can be viewed safely. At my studio and house at Stanfordville, I have a large sculpture garden there where a lot of my sculptures are. People can visit me by appointment there and walk around at safe distance and see a lot of interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I also show on a regular basis at the Studio 80 Sculpture Grounds in Old Lyme, Connecticut. And I have one piece there. And I'm also associated with the aMuse gallery in Chatham, New York. And I have 3 pieces out in front of the gallery. So you don't even have to go inside if you want to visit those.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, I'm going to be participating in an outdoor show on Governor's Island this summer, starting in August and probably running through the end of October. And because of the COVID, they're limiting artist participation and the number of people who can go on the ferry and the number of people total that can go on the island. Mm-hmm. So the exposure will be limited, but it's always a nice opportunity to show there.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then finally, there's a farm in Garrison, New York, in northern Putnam County, called Saunders Farm. And they have a herd of black Angus cows. And there's a group of artists that shows there every summer, and I thought that this year there probably wouldn't be any show, but it turns out there will be. I last showed there in 2017. So this year I have a very special piece that I've made just for that show, which is a 6-foot diameter woven wire sphere. And inside the sphere are about 10-inch diameter red rubber balls. And what's interesting is that cows are colorblind except for the color red. So I've made what I call cattle rattle. It's this great pig play toy for the cows, and hopefully they'll be attracted to the red color and interact with it and push it all around the field.
Wow.
For several months. So that show starts in August and runs through the end of October.
That would be a nice thing to capture on film.
Oh yeah, I'd like to get up there and catch those cows playing soccer in the field.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, very interesting. It sounds like your summer, COVID or no COVID, will be busy.
Yes, it will. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. Well, you're a sculptor in demand. I know. I remember reading about you in the New York Times.
Yes, my work has been reviewed and published. And last year we published a book, A Decade of Works. So this was from 2010 to 2020, which has well over 100 works, both small or indoor works and outside installations and commissions.
Wow. Well, we're going to put a link on this video for anyone interested to see more of Conrad's work, and also some of the displays he has that he just mentioned. We'll have links to those places as well. So if anybody wants to come on up to Dutchess or Northern Putnam to see some of Conrad's work, maybe get out of the city or wherever you're confined to and make a day trip and see some of his work, we'll have a link just below the video. But right now we're going to go, Conrad and I are going to go downstairs and go over some of the items he has in his booth down there. So we'll be right back. Come into the shop, and maybe Conrad, if you can explain some of the items you have in here.
Well, like my sculpture studio, my booth at the center is packed with stuff.
Yes, we can see.
And it reflects my diverse interests in the collections. There's quite a bit of rusty metal old tools, the kind of things that I often incorporate in my sculptures, but I had so many that I would never get to use them all up, so I brought them here so that I could share them with others. I have a collection of Pyrex laboratory glass that I'm particularly fond of, especially the round flasks. But this stuff is very beautiful and very practical. And I have a whole bunch of different kinds of signs that I've collected over the years in brass and iron and steel. This one is a brass plaque from around 1910 called the Loving Cup. And it's etched in the brass and then inked over. And there were 3 different companies at the time during the arts and crafts movement that made various kinds of motto plaques like these. I also have some vintage and historic ceramic tiles. There's a panel, a 19th century heraldic panel from Spain. There are a couple of...
Yeah, I noticed that. I was wondering from where it came.
Yeah, and...
How old would you say that was?
That's probably the mid-19th century, and I'm not sure what the coat of arms is, but I suspect it's the city of Valencia.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are some tile-top tables. These tables are from the 1920s and 30s, and they were also influenced by the tile-making tradition in Spain. Mm. Then there's lighting. There's a Tin Man.
Made out of cans.
Made out of cans.
Needs a little Earl.
Yeah, he's a squeaker. And there's
and oil cans, I see.
Oil cans. Iznik Persian jars. Some old bricks. A string bean slicer, vintage string bean slicer from Amsterdam.
Wow.
So there's quite an assortment.
And these are all previous muses of yours?
There were previous muses or tools that I used in my work.
Very interesting.
There's a pair of, let me take this down, pair of vintage carpenter's sawhorses, beautifully cut up and covered with paint. ready to become pedestals for a glass top table.
Mm-mm.
Be beautiful in someone's living room or den.
Interesting idea.
I hope people get that idea when they look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an old candle stand. I don't know if you can get far enough away for this.
Interesting. Do you know what that once was?
Well, it is an adjustable candle stand.
That's how it was designed originally?
That's what it was designed for,
Mm-hmm.
and it's shaker style.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very cool.
Very unique.
Yeah,
Someone that wants something unique. There it is.
I love it. I just don't have room for it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some heavy stuff like an old cast iron chips wheel down there, and actually another cast iron anchor.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nautical things, other kinds of things, old farm implements.
What's that thing on the inside the chest?
This is a vintage Christmas tree stand.
Wow.
And it has adjustable little clamps
Mm-hmm.
on all the four sides.
Wow.
So it adjusts for the thickness of the tree.
How old would you say that is?
Oh, this is over 100 years old.
Yeah, it looks like it's from the 19th century.
So I say here, in my booth, there's something for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Well, I see you got some farm animals here.
Yeah, those were, when I was a kid, those were toys of mine.
Really?
Shows you how old they are.
Wow. And now you're 26 years old, so that's a while ago. Very cool.
Well, thank you for coming and visiting with me.
Oh, absolutely.
And,
So
and sharing my goodies.
there's Conrad
The world
Levenson.
outside.
And as you saw previously, he has some shows coming up this summer, and we'll put a link below so you can check them all out. And towards the end of this video, we'll have some photos of some of his work as well. And thanks for joining us, Conrad.
Thank you.
Okay.